All right, so back to my school lunch challenge. I gave you this challenge today. If you took your box lunch home, what can you transform it into? So we're always thinking about how to creatively use food. I've got apple slices, my pretzel, and milk from today, and I'm gonna turn this into an apple bread pudding in the microwave. So we do not need to use the stove or the oven. We don't necessarily need to use a knife, but we are going to be starting some knife skills. Do not do this if your parents are not okay with it. I'm going to set aside what I don't need right now, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mix my mixture. So we're going to do this in the microwave. We're going to do this in a single mug. And I'm going to make sure I have my mug. Shoop. Okay, so you get a view. We're in New England, so it's my Dunkin' Donuts mug. All right, but my single mug, I'm gonna go ahead and put my liquids in. So I have my milk from school lunch, and I'm going to use my measuring cup to measure a 1/4 cup of milk, but I'm also gonna add an additional tablespoon. So a little bit more milk. And I'm gonna put that milk in the mug. That came with my lunch, so I didn't get anything. Now, hopefully you have some staples at home, some pantry items that you have in your cabinet. So we're gonna use some cinnamon. I'm gonna put a 1/4 teaspoon, nice and level, of cinnamon in. I'm gonna go ahead and put a 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla. And remember, any liquids, I said we're gonna measure into a different measuring cup, just in case I spill it, which could be very possible. I like vanilla. All right, so we're gonna put that in the mug. I'm gonna go ahead and add 1 fresh egg. Many of us have this in our house. Because this is a pudding, you do need to have the egg. You can't leave that out. Crack it. Put it into my mug, because I know where it came from. If you're concerned, crack it into another container, put it in the mug. I'm all about less mess. And 1 tablespoon of sugar, or more if you like it a little sweet, but not too much. So my 1 tablespoon of sugar, and I'm gonna put that into my container. Okay, so from here, this is my liquid. And I'm gonna take a spoon, a whisk, a fork. I happen to have a nice little baby whisk, and I'm gonna whisk that around. I wanna make sure that the egg is mixed into the milk. I don't wanna have a lot of egg particles in there, because those will bake separate and have an eggy flavor. If they're mixed into the mug, then it's gonna marry the flavors and make it a custard taste instead of just an egg in your custard. Now, I've never done this with a pretzel before, but you know what? Pretzel's bread. So why not? If you have a leftover croissant, day-old bread, you know, don't feed it to the birds. Make a custard with it. That is what they used to do to utilize bread mixture. So we've got our mixture here that is all combined. I'm gonna move my whisk out of the way. And I'm gonna move my mug out of the way. So this is ready. Now in the mug, I'm gonna wanna add my pretzel. So if you need to, you can simply tear it up. That's fine. Totally tear it up, does not matter. But tear it up into small pieces. So you don't need to use a knife. This would totally work without a knife, because you want that to go and absorb the milk mixture to make it a custard. If you have a knife or you've started practicing your knife skills, you could go ahead and simply cut your pieces to nice, small, even pieces. And I've got my fingers always out of the way. The claw method, I do not put my fingers in the way. I have a grip on my knife, choked up, okay, at the bolster, with my hand and my thumb supporting it. So I don't have it all rocking. I have a really good support on my knife, and I go ahead and I cut on my cutting board that is secure. Okay, just, you know, random, but again, you could tear these does not matter. And I'm going to take this pretzel and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put it in that mug. So I'm going to add that right into my mixture. Okay, so maybe you didn't like the pretzel today because it wasn't heated up. We're going to go ahead and put it in the bread mixture, but that's kind of boring. So I want to jazz it up. There's a little bit of cinnamon in there. I'm going to go ahead and add some chocolate chips. So I'm going to just measure out about a tablespoon of chocolate chips and put them in. You can use raisins, you can use craisins, you can use any dried fruit that you want. Chocolate chips, any flavor of chocolate chip. You could make this a peanut butter custard and stir a little peanut butter into it. You could make this a chocolate bread pudding and melt some chocolate into and stir it into the mixture, or stir in a little bit of cocoa powder. I don't know, maybe try a hot chocolate packet. It's all a mystery what you're going to get for lunch, but if you don't eat the whole lunch, what can you transform it into? So your mystery basket, our mystery lunch today. Now, not only that, I want to make it a little bit healthy because we had these apples left from lunch. I'm not going to use all of them. I don't need to. And I'm also going to use the apples for another mug. So I just want 2 of the apple slices. That's plenty, okay? Go ahead, just clear those crumbs off, but I mean, you don't have to. Okay, but from these, the same thing. If you didn't want to use a knife, you can break this, okay, into little bite-sized pieces. Nice and small because these will not get quite as soft in the amount of time that we're going to be putting this in the microwave. So if you are practicing your knife skills, I would recommend taking that apple, cutting it in half, okay, and then securing it on the board and cutting it even in half again, all right, and then putting those pieces together. So we've got a little bit of a dice here, okay, clearing that off, and same thing again, I'm going to cut that. Okay, it will look prettier in there, but it is not necessary, okay? If you are not allowed to use a knife, you don't have access to a knife, maybe, I don't know, maybe you're in a hotel room. You could make this work for you. You could soften the apples whole slightly in the microwave before you build your custard, and it would be almost like an apple pie at the bottom, like an apple filling. You could add a little cinnamon to the apples, microwave them, and then put them in. But we're just gonna put them in like this. They're small enough. And we're going to add it right into our mug. All right, and then from there, we're going to mix all of the pretzel down into the custard. We want to get this coated with the custard. And you're going to want to soak this. So the longer it soaks, the better it will be, because it will absorb all the way into the bread and it will get nice and creamy and spongy. You could actually do this the night before. Pop this in the microwave for breakfast. Have a warm bread pudding breakfast. Why not? It's healthy, okay? Whole grain pretzel in here. You've got eggs, milk, everything. But we're gonna let it sit for at least 10 minutes. So let this sit for 10 minutes, and then we're gonna microwave it for about a minute, maybe a minute and a half, depending on your microwave, and go ahead and thicken the custard. All right, so I microwaved my cake for about a minute and a half, and here again, we're gonna check this out. So this would be great in the morning with some yogurt. You can see it's nice and creamy, okay? It smells a little salty, so sweet and savory, because you get a little bit of saltiness from the pretzel, but you've got the apples in there. Delicious.